you. So I'm not a poet, so I'm not going to read poetry. Sorry. So like just should I? And I'm also a very bad reader. I'm not a bad talker, but I'm a bad reader. So what I'll do, since you're a capture audience and most of you are not from Vilnius or local, and I think this is a good sort of venue to introduce a little bit about the city. And I read a little bit from my book, but those going to be more or less excerpts of descriptions of the city that you perfect descriptions of the city that you might find very much accurate, and those are kind of from 15th century, 19th century, etc. All those encounters, foreign encounters with the city. So this is a description of the city from edition 1566 edition of Civitatis Orbis Terrarium. So the orb of the earth, which describes many other walled cities. But this is like specifically description of the city of Vilnius. It first starts like how it has many names, and then describes the separations between the city and Šnipišė. So this is the description. There are many extramural settlements, like in all well-designed cities, each with its own name. One of them, engulfed by the Vilnius River, stands out from the rest because of its poverty. Since there are no streets, tiny houses are built without any system, as if by magic or chance, guided only by the wishes of its barbarian residents. Anyone who desires can bring few pine planks and build a primitive hut. Beyond the gate of the royal palace, King Sigismund Augustus constructed a wooden hunting lodge to escape the hassles and trouble of the city. The residents of Vilna, especially those living in suburb hovels, are uneducated, sluggish, lazy, idle, and subservient with no knowledge or liking of arts or science. They are true slaves of their masters without a desire for freedom. Surprisingly, they are very much pleased with their miserable existence and show love and obedience only to those masters who scold them and beat them mercilessly. Meanwhile, they usually run away from those masters who treat them well. Locals make no great wine, but love to drink. They drink meat and beer and have a great liking for warm wine and eat onions and garlic. Their houses are always full of smoke because they are built without chimneys. As a result, people turn blind. Nowhere in the world there's so many blind people as here. Their homes are free from any decorations or expensive utensils. Parents together with their children, cattle, and beasts live together in the dirty hovel. The wife of the master of the house, which has given birth, lies nearby on the hard bench, and on the third and fourth day after labor resumes her domestic duties and outside work. In the entire city, nobody has a bed, and if that is not enough, sleeping softly is considered to be sin. There are plenty of wealthy people who sleep on benches covered only in bearskin. The life of aristocrats are not much better, only that they wear fancier clothes embroidered in gold and silver. The wealthy burghers too happily dress their wife attractively, while country folk always wear simple clothes of the same cut and color. The townspeople observe strange religious customs. They piously attend every sermon, intensely following every gesture of the priest, such as the raising of chalice and consecrating of sacraments full of admiration. They pray obsessively with pounding of their chests and faces. Those who had illicitly copulated or debauched themselves the previous night do not come inside the church, but remorsefully stay outside the doors, eagerly staring at the priest attending the Mass. This custom is so widespread that it's very easy to spot every errant youth and sinful maiden in town. When death finally releases them from their miserable servitude, they are buried in good clothes and with money for the afterlife journey. The dead also carry letters to their relatives or dear friends, addressed and written to St. Peter, so that he, being the gatekeeper of paradise, would let the deceased into the heaven. This and another superstitious customs are so pervasive that even those who still reject the Christian faith follow them unquestionably, meaning local Jews and Muslims, actually. One can never forget that in the past, locals worshipped snakes, suns, thunder, and fire as their gods. So this is kind of like one of the first very elaborate descriptions of the city. The other one that I would like to read comes from the 19th century, and it's actually somebody who arrives from St. Petersburg, by the way. And it's a great Russian writer, Fyodor Dostoevsky. And Dostoevsky's wife, second wife, Anna Snitkina, also a great name, wrote a diary. And this is the first, they traveled from St. Petersburg to Western Europe, actually to escape creditors. And this is actually the first entry of Anna's, in Anna's diary. So they arrived to Vilnius on the night train to Vilna, and this is kind of the first journey travel, so to speak, the first day entrance in her diary. She's newly led, so she's newly married, so really it's like a honeymoon for them, which turned to be horrific, because he gambled everything. Even her wedding earrings that he gave it to her as a present. So it's like it was the most. Now, this was also for the first time when she witnessed. She knew that when she witnessed that Dostoevsky had seizure attacks. Right? She was 20 years younger, I think. She was a stenographer, so it's kind of like, so the relationship was this sort of power relation. But anyway, so this is the description of how they arrived in 1964, just when the railway was finished between St. Petersburg and Vilna. So 2 o'clock in the afternoon of April 15, we arrived at Vilna. Very soon, the lackey from the Han, the hotel at Bolshaya, Great Street, which is the Joy, picked us up and drove us to the hotel. At the gate of the hotel, we were stopped by our acquaintance of Fyodor Mikhailovich, Mr. Barza. He told us that he lives in Vilna and he will pick us at the 6 and then show us around the city. In the hotel, we have to climb many stairs because we're shoved one room after the other, but all of them were terribly dirty. Fedya wanted to leave until we finally found a good room where he could peacefully settle for the night. The hotel servants were very strange. No matter how long you rang for their service, they never responded. There was something else uncanny about them. 2 of them were missing the left eye. And Fedya thought that in this town, the one-eye servant might be not out of ordinary, because those with a missing eye were probably less expensive to hire. We had a lunch and went to the city. It looks quite big with narrow streets, wooden walkways, and tile red roofs. Today is Easter Sunday, and because of that, the streets are very busy. And this is, forgive me, this is original now, the translation, so if I'm going to use some words that's going to offend someone, I'm sorry. In particular, there are many Yids with many their wives, all covered in yellow and red shawls and lace scarves. Now, Dostoevsky, of course, was extremely anti-Semitic and anti-Catholic and Polish, and he had these fantasies that Jesuits are coming after him, and Great Inquisitor in Vilnius is gonna. The end of this whole story, that actually at this time it was a Passover and Easter, and Dostoevsky figured out that it was the greatest plan from both sides, that the Jews and Catholics Poles gonna really kind of like do a trick on him, and the trick is that that's gonna steal everything from them. So they come after this kind of like sightseeing of the city. They come to the hotel, and this is like comes from the diary again. Here it is. So we visited cemetery, we visited Nevsky Chapel on Georgievsky Square that has recently been erected to commemorate the pacification for the Poles. This is for the insurrection. I like it very much. It was such a beautiful, simple, and elegant chapel. At 7 p.m. we came back to the hotel and had some tea and went to sleep. All the hotel staff left for church, but before they went out, one of the servants instructed us to lock ourselves in from the inside. Fyodor Mikhailovich thought that it was a perfect scheme to rob us while everybody was away. He started to block all the doors with tables and our luggage. I love this. At night, at 1:45, Fedya had a seizure, a very strong one. It lasted for 15 minutes. We were ready to leave. Some Yids came to our room and asked to buy something from him, I think. Anyway, so it goes and on and on and on. It's all this kind of anti-Semitic, and finally they leave, whatever. So, but I think this would be like the best little mini film, 15 minutes film, like, Dostoevsky in Vilnius, like during the Passover, like on the Easter, like this my dream if I can.